got him through security in Amsterdam, past the scanners, onto the plane. The FBI said that wasn't true at first, now said, okay, it is true. It looks like something more is going on. I mean, at bare minimum, they're leaving the door open for these people.
Well, and there's a real risk versus gain, and let me divert just a bit here, but I think it's still on topic. I believe the Badadar arrest was something similar. I think we were, frankly, getting a lot of intel take out of Badadar while he was still in Badadar, for those of your listeners that maybe not understand who he is, he was the number two Taliban guy in Pakistan, wrapped up in Karachi a while back, just a few weeks ago. I'm hearing, and I've got this both from British sources and American sources, look, he was kind of neutralized where he was at. He was being monitored, and Alex, that's one of the things that the intelligence community does do. They will target someone and let him sit. They will know everything he's doing because the simple fact of their existence and their actions allows us to track back who they're talking to. And again, this goes back to Able Danger. That was what we were doing. We had a few known contacts. We wanted them to exist. We wanted to see who they were talking to and figure out where the cells were. I mean, it's all linked together. It's one big happy family. It's a social network. So I think when you look at the underwear bomber, it's very possible they were allowing him to do something, and they may have thought this was a dry run.
No, they've now said that. They've now admitted. The State Department's admitted that.
Yeah, frankly, that we know that the Al-Qaeda, and especially when they're doing a major attack, will do rehearsals. James Woods, the actor James Woods, actually witnessed one of the rehearsals when he flew out of Boston right before 9/11. He actually reported to the FBI, and they kind of blew him off. So frankly, that may have been what's been going on here, but it doesn't make it right, because clearly the pieces were all there. There were indications this guy had been radicalized, he was been trained, and going towards the idea of Badadar, I think Badadar was not arrested because we wanted to get more intelligence out of him. I think in some ways he was arrested to neutralize him, because one of the things we have to remember, Alex, is Badadar was the main contact between the Taliban and the Pakistani ISI. So, I think the last thing in the world the Pakistani ISI wants is a Taliban guy talking about who in the ISI, the Pakistani ISI, is bad. So, I preach this on the air every time I go on. You've got to look deeper at a story. You cannot take things at face value, because there's always more. And frankly, there's multiple competing agendas, and it's very tough, as you know, to get past the agendas and get to the truth.
Well, let me expand on that, because we know about the airlift of evil. Here's the MSNBC article. Why did we let Pakistan pull volunteers out of Kunduz? And over again, Special Forces commanders would capture top Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and thousands of fighters. And they were ordered, let them go, send them to Pakistan. And we know time and time again, it's like this Adam Gadon thing. They say Pakistan captured him, and then we hear, oh no, he wasn't captured. Was he pulled in? He's the grandson of one of the ADL founders, this
right.
super anti-Muslim guy. Then now he's the voice of Al-Qaeda. I mean, give me a break. We know there's all these double and triple agents out there. So we hear somebody gets captured over and over again, and we know about these airlifts of evil. What's your take on that?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, that's one of the issues we have to look at here is what is the real story, and let's talk about the Gaddan thing or Pakistan in general. Frankly, one of the things that's been seen several times lately is the Pakistanis trying to maintain control of the Taliban, and in many ways they see the Taliban as Iran sees Hezbollah. They do I view it as a separate but capable component of their national strength. Therefore, when you start looking at how it works, who's involved, you've really got to question what their motives are, what the Pakistani motives are when they do anything. And to underscore your point, absolutely, back in 2003 was one of the first indicators that we knew, and I briefed General Barno, the commander of forces, on it, that Taliban ISI elements were not only participating, they were captured. There was an ISI female operative captured in a Taliban raid in Afghanistan in 2003. So, we have indicators going back to 2003 that they've been riding both sides of the rail. And in this case, we've really got to look at how they're doing it. Now, one of our senior fellows, Chris Mason, came out recently in Foreign Affairs, it's a publication, and talked about the fact that he thinks that everything we're seeing right now is being orchestrated by the Pakistanis, not because they support us, but they're working out of their own enlightened self-interest to re-insinuate themselves into the negotiations with us and the Taliban, because they know if the Taliban breaks off, from them and negotiates with us, that the Taliban, the Pakistanis lose. They lose control. So I think you need to look at everything that goes on here as a big chessboard and figure out that sometimes sacrificing a pawn is a good thing if that means you can protect your queen. And I think that's what we're doing here, what's going on here. Every time a move is made, you got to look at the chessboard and figure out, okay, what's going on over here on the other side of the chessboard? What did we not see? And for example, the Marja campaign. You know, again, that's been something that's been going on for a while. We have yet to understand what, if any, effect that's going to have in the long-term winning of the war. If you know, and winning again, I think you and I talked about this, but we have to redefine our definition of victory of winning. So, you know, we've got to look at this. We've got to look at Pakistan and Afghanistan as a whole, and we cannot win Afghanistan, whatever measure, whatever definition you use to define winning or victory. We cannot win in Afghanistan unless we win in Pakistan. And right now, I think the picture is too muddled to make a good judgment if we're making progress in Pakistan or not.
Well, let's expand on that, though. Okay. I mean, you go back to 1993. It came out in the New York Times and CBS News, and we now have the FBI tapes that were declassified last year that were in the trial. The FBI goes in, hires Ahmad Salam, an Egyptian intelligence officer, tells them we're going to set up local Muslim radicals. Both guys were borderline morons. They cook the bomb, they train the driver, and then they say, we're not going to do the sting, we're going to let it go ahead. Ahmad Salam starts recording him, telling him that that yes, you were hired, you were told to build a dummy bomb, then we changed it to real bomb, now we're letting it go ahead. Clearly as a way to get more funding, crack down a police state. We have the Homeland Security MIAC report documents that came out last year where most of Homeland Security is now for gun owners, veterans, libertarians, conservatives. This whole anti-terror apparatus is really being used as a cashless society taxing and control grid. We have Sybil Edmonds saying now, until the day of 9/11, that the U.S. elements of it involved with the Turks and involved with the Pakistanis and CIA and Mossad and British MI6 were all, in her words, running al-Qaeda or elements of it on the day of 9/11, and she's gagged. Now, A, is she a liar in your view, or why is she saying this? Because the evidence backs her up. I mean, who are the players? Because I look at this from a Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, or from some of the Army field manuals that talk about false flag, to again, allow this to happen bare minimum as a pretext to launch new wars.
Well, let me cover the question kind of in two parts. First off, I know Sybil. I respect her. I think she's a wonderful woman, and I admire her work.
I do too.
She is very well spoken. And I look. I got to tell you, I've always been fascinated about the fact they've been trying to gag her. I mean, to me, it's loony. The more they try to shut her up, the more credibility they give her. So I think I give her that right there. It's like, man, the more they try to sit on you,
and all the FBI agents that were gagged who tried to stop it.
Well, and then there's some of her other associates. I know one of them was on the FAA Red Team, and there was a recent thing on Facebook I was watching kind of go where Condoleezza Rice talked about no one could imagine aircraft being used as weapons. Well, Alex, the FAA was training against that scenario for years before 9/11. So, and that's all. Again, one of Sibel's,
the Pentagon ran a drill the year before of it happening.
Right. So I think this is one of those things where I think everybody can speculate all day, and I think Sybil has given some extraordinarily clear clues to follow up. The problem is always to get someone to investigate. And this is one of the things I've talked about both with my issue, with the 9/11 issue, with some of these other things. There's got to be a way of establishing a credible investigative body to sort through this, because otherwise, and this is where I think I do take exception with the Obama administration talking about trying to go after radical groups. Frankly, I think by the fact you won't address the fundamental underlying issues that people are upset about, that directly influences the number of people who get frustrated and become radicalized who want action. So,
well, let's stop there. Let's stop there because we're running out of time, and this is so important. For people that don't know your case, maybe crystallize that in how you were stopped from doing your job and stopping 9/11, and then at every point the doors were opened, the embassies gave them their visas, and were told this is part of national security. They work for us. You have ATA and others popping up at U.S. military bases. I mean, this stinks to high heaven. But pulling back from that, we have this overall demonization of anybody who calls for a new investigation, and you have Deborah Medina getting in trouble for it, a gubernatorial candidate. You have all these talk show hosts